How did Greg Norman lure Smith and Leishman to LIV Golf? Is he still planning to seduce Scott? This video will share the latest news and happenings, including Smith's lowering ranking. So hang tight there and stay with us till the end, so you don't miss out on anything. Also, be sure to like the video and subscribe. We wouldn't want you to miss out on any of our upcoming content. Firstly, how did Greg Norman lure Cameron Smith and Mark Leishman to join LIV Golf? Cameron Smith and Mark Leishman were persuaded to join the Saudi-sponsored series by Greg Norman with the promise of a 25% ownership in a LIV Golf franchise, while earlier this year, talks to pull Adam Scott away from the PGA Tour failed. A decision on the location for an Australian event in 2019 was about to be made, according to Norman, who told the Sydney Morning Herald and The Age on the eve of LIV Golf's 6th event this week in Chicago. The Masters and the Open, which Smith won stunningly at St. Andrews, were among the 4 major tournaments that Norman pleaded with the organizers to keep as Switzerland so that his players might participate the following year. Just after attracting the former world number 3, Smith, the lone top 10 player to defect to LIV Golf, has discussed the business plan that will see him and Leishman leading an Australian team that will play in a global league the next year. Up next, how much money did Smith get for quitting the PGA Tour? Smith reportedly received $140 million to quit the PGA Tour and join LIV Golf. Still, the 29-year-old and Leishman also received the keys to a franchise that Norman wants them to expand in Australia as part of the agreement. You have to consider it from Cam's perspective because, according to Norman, the value LIV Golf delivers, and that new value is the franchise, is something that other people find difficult to comprehend. Cam is aware of it, but he probably isn't old enough to comprehend what Kerry Packer accomplished in cricket. He created teams and night cricket for the benefit of the players, and just look where it's come to now with the IPL. These Indian teams are pretty valuable, so we add a new value in that regard. Smith sees the market that Australia offers, and the market that has, quite frankly, been starved of top-tier athletes and new value for the game of golf. Once every 7 to 10 years, the President's Cup visits, drains the local economy, and then vanishes. So when will Smith and Leishman join the LIV? Smith and Leishman will join other key players from LIV, such as Dustin Johnson, Phil Mickelson, Bryson DeChambeau, and Sergio Garcia in 2023 to manage one of 12 franchises under a Formula One-style idea. Although the close friends have been the most well-known Australians to join LIV Golf, Scott, Australia's lone Masters champion, has long been the subject of rumors. He went to a players-only gathering of more than 20 celebrities last month when Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy discussed strategies to boost the PGA Tour to counter LIV's growing influence in the global golf landscape. In the President's Cup 2022, Scott was the captain of an international team, sans Smith and Leishman, against the strength of the United States. As a result, Scott has, for the time being, stayed with the PGA Tour. Up next, is Norman still planning to seduce Scott? Norman was asked if he was still planning to seduce Scott. How can I answer that question? There were discussions with Adam early on, but now that Mark and Cam are Team Australia's leaders, I believe it is really up to them. They must assemble the strongest team possible to maximize their future value. Many talented young people are coming out of Australia, so they will come to us and ask us questions. I'll list 4 or 5 of the kids for you. There are a few outstanding ones, and 1 or 2 have ties to Asia, which has a solid financial worth. Coming right up, what's the update about the LIV event in Australia? For LIV's first event in Australia, which is scheduled for 2 weeks after the Masters in April of next year, Smith and Leishman will be major draws. Only one course, Royal Sydney, reportedly turned down the opportunity for an inspection when Norman recently dispatched LIV officials to tour Australia. He stated that a decision on the venue for the event is anticipated before the end of the month, with Gold Coast and Sydney the frontrunners. His LIV players will have experienced a sharp decline in their world rankings since the 54-hole tournaments played with shotgun starts have not yet received official recognition. Up next, what consequences has Smith faced after getting banned from PGA Tour events? With his indefinite ban from PGA Tour events, Smith has already fallen in the world behind FedEx Cup champion McIlroy and will shortly drop outside the top 10. Even if it meant being recognized by the official world golf ranking, Norman said he wouldn't change LIV's model to 72-hole competitions. He also claimed that the BMW Championship at Wentworth, in which 18 LIV players competed, was still eligible for rankings points despite being reduced to 3 rounds due to the Queen's passing. With all due respect for the Queen's departure, Norman commanded, "Be consistent. They've done it with other international tours. If they don't accept LIV, OWGR will appear out of date. Is it not funny to the OWGR if they wake up at the end of the year and Dustin Johnson is 102 in the world? They have 2 options, either fold or incorporate LIV into OWGR. Let's continue. After that, everyone is joyful. The PGA Tour has no authority to dictate what each of those majors should would do if the majors prohibit players due to the PGA Tour. They are autonomous organizations. Yes, a few of its members serve on the board. I comprehend that and I grasp it. But if you were a broadcaster, you may wonder whether your investment in television was worthwhile if you didn't have the best team in every one of them. I hope they continue to be Swiss. Next, we have, has Smith's ranking fallen because of joining LIV Golf? Smith has fallen from number 2 to number 3 just days before the Australian tees off in his second tournament for Greg Norman's Saudi-backed tour in Chicago. This downward trend is expected to continue as long as LIV events are played without offering world ranking points. Smith, though, received some good news as well. He was named the PGA Player of the Year, sponsored by the PGA of America, and he will certainly win another Greg Norman medal as Australia's player in 2022. His attempt to become the best in the world appears to have failed. When the review of the application started in July, Norman submitted LIV's application for his events to receive official world ranking points, but he will have to fight hard to win people over. Up next, how can Smith get his ranking points back now? Smith and fellow LIV convert Mark Leishman have committed to competing in the Australian Open and PGA in November and December, which will be Smith's next and final opportunity to earn world ranking points soon. Smith has virtually eliminated his hope of being the fourth Australian to hold the number 1 spot, joining Norman, Adam Scott, and Jason Day as the only Australians to achieve this feat. At number 30, Scott is still the second-ranked Australian. Players must accumulate a certain number of world ranking points to be eligible for significant tournaments. Still, Smith is exempt because of his incredible victory at the British Open at St Andrews. However, some LIV players don't. This problem was brought to a head at the European PGA Championship last week when 17 LIV players teed off. Some top players, including Rory McIlroy, who replaced Smith as the number 2 player after placing second to champion Shane Lowry, and former world number 1 Jon Rahm, were very critical of them. They are unaware of the background of this incident. However, according to Rahm, it is crystal evident that they are merely there to try to finish in the top 50 and gain points for their global ranking. Lastly, what other option did Norman use to raise rankings? In a letter to his players last month, LIV Golf CEO Norman stated that his tournaments should soon receive official world golf ranking points by any reasonable, objective, and impartial analysis. The legitimacy and integrity of the rankings themselves are seriously jeopardized without LIV's participation, according to Norman. We expect that the OWGR Board of Directors members will comprehend and value this important factor and treat this development concerning its merits and by their duty as directors of the official world golf rankings. But world number 1 Scotty Scheffler, an American, is still standing. And this is all about LIV Golf, Greg Norman luring Smith and Leishman. Please share your views on it in the comment section below. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel as we'll bring more exciting and latest news. See you soon in another video. Till then, take care, have a good day. Thanks for watching.